Right, it's time to get technical again. Today I'm talking about something that has affected all of us at least a couple of times in our Dead by Daylight careers, and that is 3genning. Yes, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, you can't prevent a 3gen, you only know you've 3gen when it's too late. And in most cases, yes, a lot of 3gens happen because the survivors aren't really paying attention to what gens are being completed, or they're not coordinating well enough to stop the killer from protecting a 3gen setup. So today, I've decided to share a few tips that I've learnt along the way to keep you from 3genning and how to pull it back when you think the game is heading towards a 3gen situation. This topic was actually suggested by my Twitch chat, and so if you want to give your say and influence some of the upcoming videos, be sure to check out my streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/EarthToLydia. I stream Dead by Daylight content 5 days a week, and I'm going to be pushing for Twitch partnership really soon, so I'd really appreciate if you came over and hung out. So, first of all, what is a 3gen? Every time you start a trial in Dead by Daylight, 7 generators will spawn on the map, 5 of which the survivors have to complete to power the exit gates, and 2 extras. A 3gen is where the survivors only have 1 generator left to complete in the trial, so 3 gens left on the map in total. But all of the remaining generators are as close as physically possible to each other, making it very easy for the killer to patrol and difficult for the survivors to finish the last generator. More often than not, you will not win in a 3gen situation. So how do we go about preventing these? Generally speaking, when you start in a game, you want to get rid of the gens closest to the center of the map first. The reason that you do this is because generally speaking, these are the hardest gens to get out of the game, as the killer has the easiest access to them and most of the time has the most visibility on them as well. And this is because they're all within a very short distance of one another. So it's better to try and attack these while all survivors are still in the game and have yet to be hooked. In the same regard, it's better to leave the gens at the furthest points of the map until last. You want to put as much distance in between the gens as possible for the late game because the killer has less points to patrol, so you might as well try to make these points as difficult as possible to traverse. Now, if you've already completed a few gens and you've realized with only about 4 or 5 gens left in the game that all of them look pretty close together, then try to tackle the one directly in the middle of the bunch. Alternatively, look for other factors that could make certain gens less accessible for killers. It's actually best to keep the awkward and less accessible gens in the game until the very end if possible. For example, let's take Pale Rose. If you're on Pale Rose and all of the gens are around the boat, you should probably actually keep the boat gen in the game because the killer has to climb a flight of stairs to be able to hinder any progress on that gen, and it's quite easy for the survivors to get away without being attacked by the killer. Alternatively, if you were to remove this gen, then the killer only has to patrol the ground level, which takes a lot less time to maneuver. This might not seem that practical, but when you're working on a generator later in the game, those few seconds that it takes the killer to round your side of the boat and climb an extra set of stairs could be the difference between you completing that last generator or not. Now let's take some other examples. For instance, take Coal Tower, Thompson House, and Family Residence. All of these maps have one thing in common. They each have a generator inside the main structure and will almost always have one generator on either side of the structure as well and out in the open. It's best to get the gens on either side of the building completed first. If those generators are all left in the game until later, there's actually a huge potential for a 3gen situation, but getting them out of the way early on really swings things in favor of the survivors as you automatically create distance between whatever gens remain. The reason that I say this is because the gen that you keep inside the building will always have a broken line of sight from the other gens on the map, which is going to make things difficult for even high mobility killers like Billy, Oni, and Spirit to protect. The killer isn't physically able to monitor that gen's progress without checking on it frequently and getting up close and personal, which allows you as a team to spread your efforts and keep the killer under pressure. Another rule of thumb that I can give you is that if you complete one generator and see another one right next to it, do not complete that gen, save it for later. All of the generators in the game are pretty evenly spaced out, so if you complete 2 generators in the same area of the map, then you immediately reduce the area that the remaining generators can spawn in, and sometimes this can make only half of the map playable. And then if this happens, the killer only has to monitor about half of the map. And certainly do not complete 3 gens all in a row. You're just asking for trouble there. There are definitely a select few maps in the game that you want to avoid doing this on much more than others. These are the maps which tend to have walls which enclose 3 generators that are all really close to one another on one side of the map. For example, Azerov's Resting Place, Suffocation Pit, Sanctum of Wrath. All of these maps will group 3 to 4 generators very close to one another. Make sure that you're working on the generators on these maps evenly. So if you see you've already completed 2 generators on one side of the map, then you should be conscious of this and move to the other end. There's another few maps which this can apply to as well. For example, on Grim Pantry, it's quite often that you have 2 generators that spawn together on the pier. Personally, I like to finish the gen that's the closest to the edge of the map first, as this is easier for the killer to interrupt you on, whereas the gen on the edge of the pier, the killer needs to get up onto the higher level and then double back on themselves to be able to get to you. Then I save the end of the pier gen until the end of the game. Some of you who've been here for a while will have seen exactly how this can go wrong if you complete both of these generators early on. Why are you doing that gen? Why are you doing the one gen that I wanted to leave until late game? No! Oh, there's 2 gens right next to each other. Have we fucking 3-gened? Have we 3-gened? Because I think we have. We have, haven't we? We have. It's really good to be aware of your surroundings as well and to react according to your teammates. Usually if I'm on a generator and I can see a teammate sticking the gen that's the next one over, then I tend to stop the generator that I'm working on and either join them if I think it's safe or go and find another generator on the opposite side of the map. So these are some really basic steps to stop you from 3-genning. I could go on, but I don't want this video to drag on too long. But if you guys want to see a follow-up, then make sure to let me know down in the comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Also, we just passed 2,000 subscribers. I want to thank everyone who's been a part of the journey up to this point. It really means a lot to me, so thank you. As usual, all of my other social medias are linked in the description down below, and as I mentioned before, I'm live 5 days a week on Twitch at twitch.tv/EarthToLydia. Thanks for making it this far into the video, guys. See you next time.